Hello and welcome. In this video I'll be showing you where to find the Desmodus draculae or the vampire bat on Fjordr. Desmodus can be found in 6 areas of the Midgard region located here, and I'll be covering them individually from easiest to hardest location. I'll also be covering some basics of Desmodus taming and its abilities. So, if you find this helpful, please support my channel by hitting the like button, subscribe and turn on bell notifications. Thank you. So the first location for the Desmodus also happens to be the easiest place where you can tame it, and it is located here on this part of the map. And let me give you a better visual representation of where we are. So, the place where Desmodus spawns happens to be just inside the cave, which is just after this waterfall over here. As you can see, the cave has no other creatures aside from Desmodus, and the cave has a low ceiling, which means it is the easiest place where you can tame the Desmodus draculae. The second location where you will find Desmodus happens to be the Ragnarok-like looking cave over here, and let me give you a better visual representation. So this cave has a very high ceiling, which might make taming a bit more difficult compared to the last one, and it also spawns certain insects like bats, scorpions and sometimes snakes. As you can see, the Desmodus spawns are always latching onto the highest parts of the cave, so aggroing them might be slightly more difficult, but it's still not very dangerous to actually navigate and tame it inside the cave. So let's now go into the next location. The third location where you will find Desmodus happens to be the Mount Doom Caverns, which also contains the artifact of the Immune. This cave is in the lava biome and is close to the Wyvern Trench over there. Inside the cave you will find all of the typical cave critters like spiders, snakes, scorpions and bats, and the cave is pretty hot. So Desmodus can be found only at the entrance to the final chamber over here at this location. As you can see, this cave is very hot, and once a Desmodus latches onto you and it actually makes you fall, there is a slight chance that it will make you fall into the lava. So I have placed it at third because it is slightly more difficult. I would advise you to carry a full suit of ghillie gear for the heat, and also carry some grappling hooks, archaeopteryx and maybe even a Pseudomacrops from Lost Island, so that you can safely navigate the lava part. So with that being said, now I'm going to come to the fourth location. The fourth location for Desmodus happens to be the cave that also contains the Dragon Boss terminal located here. So let's just go inside and I'll let you see where the Desmodus spawns. So we have the Dragon Boss terminal on this side over here. Let me turn up the gamma, and we're going to see the entrance to the central chamber. Desmodus spawns on the entire length of this bridge from one side to the other, atop the ceilings as well as on the arches over here. So you can see the Desmodus spawning over here, and if we follow this entire bridge to the other side, we will find that Desmodus is also hanging on the roof. The reason why I placed it at 4th and not 3rd is because the roof here is very high. So to get aggro to it and later on to remain aggro to it when the Desmodus is trying to circle and fly above is going to be slightly more difficult. Plus, you might accidentally get yourself fallen into the lava, and you might accidentally fall below, which contains lots of nasty creatures like Carnos, raptors and the typical cave creatures. So that was the fourth location, and I'll be seeing you in the next location. Alright, so the fifth location for Desmodus happens to be Blue Obelisk itself. As you can see, Desmodus spawns in the entire vicinity surrounding the Blue Obelisk, and they are out in the open. So I placed it at 5th position is because 1. It is cold, 2. Because it is out in the open, it will be much more difficult to remain aggro to it. And 3. Wild creatures, both herbivores and carnivores, might interfere with your taming progress. So that's why I placed it at 5th. But don't worry, this is not the worst place to tame a Desmodus. That one is coming next. So the final place where you can get Desmodus draculae is the cave in the swamp biome located here. This is the worst place you can actually find Desmodus because it's a swamp cave, contains lots of nasty creatures, and you compulsorily need a gas mask to survive inside the cave. Otherwise you will die from the poisonous swarms. So definitely you're not going to come here looking for a Desmodus. Still, let me show you the Desmodus located inside the cave. Because of how the cave looks, it is even difficult to see the cave creatures clearly. That is why I'm going to be using a tech helmet just to let you see the 1, 2, 3 Desmodus spawning close by in the central chamber. And you also have one more Desmodus here. As you can see, Desmodus spawns only in this entrance chamber, but you are going to require some amount of gas masks to survive this particular part of the cave. So yeah, that was all 6 locations where you find Desmodus. I'll now try to cover some of the basics of what Desmodus is. So let me first find a safe place on the map. So I'm going to be uncryoing 3 things. Yes, 3, not 1. Now I'm going to be showing you how you can easily tame a Desmodus. I'm not going to be covering the taming part, but I will explain to you how I felt taming a perfect 225 Desmodus is possible. So what I did was, I tamed this guy first. It is, as you can see, a wild level 20, and when I tamed it, I did not use any other creature to tame it, which means that my taming effectiveness was very bad. The reason why I tame a low level vampire is because a low level Desmodus will tame very quickly, and it will require a very small number of blood packs, which I can easily craft using an extraction syringe. Once I get this low level vampire, I can use it to farm as much blood packs as I possibly can, in the hundreds. So once I get several hundred of these blood packs over here, then I'm going to set about taming my proper vampire. This one, as you can see, which is named Oriana from the Witcher 3 Blood and Wine expansion. So this one was a level 145 vampire, and I tamed it perfectly to level 217. So what I did was, I put a whole bunch of blood packs in my Daedon, and I let the vampire aggro onto the Daedon. As the vampire latches onto the Daedon, its taming effectiveness will sharply increase to around 100%. Most of the time, if you have done taming Bloodstalkers on Genesis Part 1, and you're also taming Desmodus, you would think that the ideal tame to use in such a scenario would be a Moschops, but it's not really required. So what you require is a tame. So to increase the taming efficiency of a Desmodus to 100%, what you require is a tame that the vampire can actually latch onto, like a Moschops, a Dire Wolf, or a Daedon. 2. You also need to make sure that the tame that is going to be latched onto has a lot of high health, and you know Daedons have a very good amount of health. So with that being said, what I did was, instead of separately taming a Moschops and leveling it up in health, I used my boss Daedon. It has just a bit of health and mostly it's part in food. And to sharply increase the taming effectiveness, and also to ensure that when the Desmodus latches onto my Daedon, it does not drain its health too much, I placed a whole bunch of blood packs inside my Daedon. This caused the vampire, while latching onto my Daedon, to sharply increase the taming effectiveness to 100%. Once that is done, I just set my Daedon to come away from the Desmodus, and I myself replaced the Daedon for the taming this Oriana. In this case, I don't actually require blood packs in the last inventory slot. All I need is blood packs in my inventory, and once the Desmodus latches onto me, it will rapidly increase its levels, and finally I got a perfect tamed Oriana, or a Desmodus. So one thing to keep in mind is that you also need to ensure that aside from a high health tame that can be latched onto by a Desmodus, or rather carried by a Desmodus, you also need to ensure that this tame also is set in passive mode so that it also does not attack the Desmodus. Regarding the abilities of the Desmodus, I think it is a very good attack mount and a very good generalized mount. It can move in either direction, and you can use the X and the C key to go up and go down. You can use the space bar to latch onto any surface like this, and whether you are latching on or not latching on, you can always use weapons from it, just like in a Griffin. Left mouse button is standard attack. Right mouse button is used to carry certain creatures. Let me see if I can carry this guy. Yes, you can carry a Daedon normally. You can press and hold the left mouse button to trigger a screech. The screech will allow you to use echolocation to detect nearby creatures, both hostile and non-hostile. And let's see if the other is possible. At night, right now it is night. At night, you can press and hold the right mouse button, which will activate its cloaking ability. This cloaking ability is invaluable because you can use it to get artifacts from caves, get eggs from wyvern nests as well as rock drake nests, and do all sorts of really nice things. And as you can also guess, its stamina drain is not too high, so you can easily pump just a couple of levels into stamina and mostly into melee damage, and you're set for a really good mount. Now, every time it attacks a particular creature, it is going to generate blood packs. Higher the melee of your Desmodus, more blood packs it will generate. As far as healing is concerned, it generally eats raw meat, but it can also heal very highly by consuming a blood pack. You cannot force feed blood pack to heal it, so just like a Therizinosaur consuming a sweet veggie cake, it occasionally, after a certain cooldown timer, can consume one of these blood packs to rapidly gain a lot of health. Now there is one more feature I know called sonar. I think it is used. Okay, the last thing it can do is it can use night vision, which strangely does not work for me even though it is night. But hey, that is it for this video. I showed you all the 6 locations where you can get the Desmodus, and I also gave you a brief tutorial about what all abilities you can get from the Desmodus and how you can easily tame it. So in the next video, I'm going to cover some other tame. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please drop a like, subscribe, share around, and hit the bell notification button. I am pumping out as best as I can all the Fjordur guides that I can possibly get, but I need your support to continue on. So thank you for all the support and hope to see you soon in the next video.